Let's learn.
I don't know if he's a Noah.
So we did this.
Legend.
He's a legend.
Yeah, definitely.
I learned this Torah. This was the first Torah that we learned. What year are we in? 8 years ago.
8 years.
7 or 8 years ago, 2016. I looked at it actually today. Someone was asking me about it. This was the first year in the likkutei moharan that we gave. There was only one person here then.
Wow.
I heard your voice on it. Heard your voice.
Look
You're
at
there.
remember it.
That was a long time ago. We were sitting back there. If you remember, the first.
I was the only person.
As this ever? Yeah. No, there's other people there. But I have these guys.
Oh, these guys, right?
Yeah. No, there were other
team over here.
So this is the Hagdama to likkutei moharan.
I'm the Reb Yirmi OG.
There
Like
you go.
everything OG Reb Yirmi is
He's
like
a-
OG. So yeah,
G for
That's why you
G
sit
for
next to
Ginsburg.
him.
G for gangster.
Oh, I was joking. I know that.
I know you're yeshivish, so I don't know if you know.
No, my last name is Ginsburg. That was the joke.
I know that.
All right, here we go.
Video again.
So this Torah from Menachem was really written towards the end of his life. This was written on his way to Uman. He said it over on the way to Uman. Uman wasn't his last stop. He got there. I don't know how long he lived, only a few months, and then he died over there. So this was Torah was said on the way there. It's Dal Iyar. They record, and it has to do with Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. So I figured, what better way to get into baomer than the Hagdama to likkutei moharan, which is all based, of course, on Taras Rashbi, through the Rizal, through the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh, to his kin. Rabbi Nachman is the direct descendant of Baal Shem Tov. So let's learn. What?
Great grandson.
Grandson. Great. Really?
Grandmother was
Adel.
Vega. No, right. No, that was Vegas. Grandmother was.
Great.
You ready? Here we go. So he starts off. L'chu chazu mif'alus Hashem. Come and see the works of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the wonders. His galus nifla, an awesome revelation. Misod gedula satana ha'elukira b'Shimon Bar Yochai. Revelation, an awesome revelation of the secret, of the greatness of the Tana Eloki. There's no other Tana that's called such a name. The Tana Eloki, the godly Tana, Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. Shimon Ben Yochai, Bar Yochai. When is it Ben? When is it Bar? That's not for tonight. Hinei. So let's read. Hinei Matzili Rabbi Shimon Ben Yochai Hivtiach Shelo Tishtakach Torah Yisrael. Reb Shimon Bar Yochai guaranteed that Torah would not be forgotten from Klal Yisrael. Rabbi has spoken about this many times, and I'm like baomer. Many people speak about it, but in the Kuda, the chap that Rabbi Nachman adds is al yodo. Shimon Bar Yochai hivtiach. Shimon Bar Yochai guaranteed that the Torah would not be forgotten from Klal Yisrael al yodo, through him, because of him. Him meaning Shimon Bar Yochai, and he's going to come back to that. Kamuva b'divrei Rabbi Sinu Zechron L'Vracha Chazal tells us, the Gemara tells us in Shabbos. This is right after the Churban, a little bit after the Churban Beis Hamikdash. By Sheni, Klal Yisrael is obviously in shambles. Kishenichlis Rabbi Sinu L'Kerem, when the Rabbanan went to the Kerem what? B'Yavne. Right? That was one of the 3 requests that they asked to allow Yavne to be still standing, so people could still learn Torah, and the Romans agreed. Vespasian, I think it was. Kishenichlis Rabbi Sinu L'Kerem, when they went to the Kerem, Shu Malkom Shayu Yoshim Shuros Kerem B'Yavne. They were sitting in certain arrangement that looked like a vineyard, which was in Yavne. Amru, they said. This is right after the Churban. And the greatest Rabbanan, however many there are, I don't know. It's obviously not as many as was. And they said, Asida Torah shetishtachach me'Yisrael. We see the Torah is going to be forgotten. There's going to come a time where Klal Yisrael is going to forget the Torah. Shinamar, they bring a pasuk from, I think it's Amos. Hine yomim ba'im nu'um Hashem. Days are coming. Nu'um Hashem Elokim. V'hishlachti ra'av ba'aretz. And the HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I'm going to send a big famine into the world. Lo rav lelechem. Not a famine of bread. V'lo tzama l'mayim. It's not going to be a thirst for water. Ki'im lishmoa is devar Hashem. Rather, the famine is going to be to hear the word of God. Meaning, it's not going to be there. The word of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, understanding here is Torah, is not going to be around. It's scarce. It's going to be no water, no crops, no Torah. Uksiv and Naomi Yam Ad Yam Mitzvah Marav. They're going to drift from sea to sea, from the south, from the north to the east. Yeshaitatu Lavakesh is Dvar Hashem. They're going to wander to seek out the Dvar Hashem, but they're not going to find it. Gemara Darshan's there. Dvar Hashem. What is this Dvar Hashem that they're not going to find? So it gives three, not machlokas, just three things. Dvar Hashem zu halacha. Dvar Hashem says the halacha. People aren't going to know halacha. Dvar Hashem zaketz. Dvar Hashem also means the end of time. That could mean maybe, I don't know exactly what that means. I didn't look up the Mefarshim. Maybe it means that people's emunah in Tzipis Yeshua is going to wither away. Right? Torah is forgotten. Class is in shambles. We're in Gullus. The Kates, the Geula, they're not going to, the Dvar Hashem, it's not going to be there. There's going to be a famine. And Dvar Hashem zu nevuah. There's going to be no nevuah. Umay yeshotatu levakesh is Dvar Hashem. What does it mean that they're going to wander around, says the Gemara? For those who don't know, for those who are listening or watching, we're using likkutei mavur. So Rabbi Nachman doesn't quote these words. This is added in to understand. So the Gemara goes on over there, Shabbos, and says, "Umay yishotatu levakesh is Dvar Hashem." What does it mean they're going to wander to seek out the Dvar Hashem? So Amru, they said, "Asidi isha shetito kikar shel truma." There's going to be a lady who's going to take a loaf of truma. V'tachzor b'batei knesset, she's going to go around to the shuls, about the midrashos, and the places of learning. Later to know, im tamehi v'im tahori. Is this bread, is it tameh, tar, based on the shiloh, whatever it is? Maybe they're not going to know. Fascinating. She's going to go to shuls. She's going to a base medrash. People are going to be there davening and learning. That's his mashma. But they're not going to know the answer. So it's interesting. There's going to be people learning, but they're not going to understand. They're not going to know. V'hagemara over there, you just put in parentheses over here. V'hagemara marich levar mahu hasafik sheyeh al kikar. The Gemara goes on. What exactly is this safik? Tameh, tar. I'm sure if we learned the Gemara Ian Nafshi style, we'd understand a little bit more what that has to do with that time period, but not for now. Shevchein lo yedu imu tameh tar. Basically, they just didn't know, is it tameh or tar? So this is an explanation of Dvar Hashem zu halacha. There's going to be a famine, a lacking of the Dvar Hashem. What's the Dvar Hashem? Halacha. They're not going to know halacha. Vam Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, and then Rabbi Nachman picks back up. Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai shelo tishtakach. Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai vehemently argues with those Rabbanim who said, Asida Torah shetishtakach Yisrael. He says, no way. Shelo tishtakach. The Torah is never going to be forgotten. Fascinating. He brings a pasuk. Shinamar, it says in Devarim, it says in, I think, Vayelech, Kilosi Shachach Mi Pizara. The Torah is not going to be forgotten from the mouths of the children. Funny thing, there's an open pasuk about that, and yet the Chazal still said it's going to be forgotten. Shem Baruch Hu says, no way, it's not going to be forgotten. Can you get a Chumash Devarim? I should have this pasuk. Did you quote where this pasuk is? No, the next column. Anyway, so Reb Shimon Bar Yochai says, no way, it's not going to happen. Lo si shach pizara. It's the kids. So let's just see the whole pasuk here. You're going to find it faster than me?
See?
Probably there. Vayelech is very short, so you can... Oh, got it. V'haya ki simsena oso ra'os. Interesting. V'haya... What are you doing?
Just go.
More of the technology using over here. V'hayaki simsena osa ros rabos v'tzaros. You're going to find. It's going to be a time where you're going to simsena. You're going to find ros rabos, many evils, v'tzaros, and troubles. V'ansa. Then what's going to happen in that bad time? V'ansa hashira hazos. The shira, the song, is going to speak up. Now the shira means the Torah. L'fanav la'aid, and it's going to be a testimony. Kilos ishachim pizaro. Torah is not going to be forgotten from the children, from the mouths of the children. Ki adati es yitzra shehu osa hayom. Fine. Okay.
What pasuk was it?
Oh, I didn't look. Sorry. Anyway, so Reb Shimon Bar Yochai says it's not going to happen. V'hatam shel tishtach. Now Rabbi Nachman is going to say chiddush. Right? Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai quotes a pasuk. Quotes a pasuk in the Torah. Interesting. I don't know. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai has a certain shita, right? In Nigla, in classic Mishnah, in Gemara, Rishon Baruch Chai is on every other page in Shas, but very rarely do we pass him like him. Comes the Zohar Kadosh, we only pass him like Rishon Baruch Chai. But he had a certain shita because he was an Ish Panimi. He had a certain yesod that he worked with psukim that a lot of Chazal did not deal with. They didn't agree with him. And it's called Taima Dekra. Rishon Baruch Chai would read a pasuk, and he would darshan the reason behind the pasuk. Now the Torah doesn't say why certain things are. The pasuk is the pasuk is. That's what the pasuk says. Okay, so Chazal have to learn different halachas, but he would give out reasons, and he would darshan by that, and he would create gedarim and halacha based on his understanding of the why behind the pasuk. Right, the why is always going deeper. Right, what is this? What is this? Okay, so you could define. You see it. It's on the outside. What is this? It's a pen. It has ink. Why is this? That's a whole nother darga. That's a depth. That's pnimius. Why? When you ask why, Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, who's the master of pnimius HaTorah, and he was always explaining what's behind the scenes. Right, all of Zohar Kadosh is the behind the scenes, the source in pnimius of the psukim of the Torah. Different drushes, going back to Sfiris and going down to different places. That was the background, right, of the pasuk. So he has a concept time of the cross. So I don't know, but maybe there's a machlokas between Reb Shimon Bar Yochai and the Rabbanim, that there's a certain kilosi shachim v'pizar, maybe there's a certain time of the cross. There's a certain understanding or reason he knew that he believed in, and we'll see maybe in a minute that he could explain this pasuk as no. This pasuk is kipshuto. It's never going to be forgotten. Chazal saw this pasuk and said, okay, maybe it was referring to then, maybe it was referring, but not when the base of Mikdash is destroyed. The Torah could be forgotten then. So we'll explain in a minute what Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, maybe what he saw, to believe without a shadow of a doubt, the Torah will never be forgotten. The first Rabbi Nachman says a chiddush, and he says, V'hatam, he says the reason, this is how they read it. I don't know if you have to read it like this, but I'm going to read this Sefer Kutumar Mavur, because we hold of them. But they say, V'hatam shel tishtaka chatar miyisraelu. The reason that Torah will not be forgotten from Klal Yisrael is, K'mavur b'Zohar, b'hai chibur, the Zohar Kadosh says, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says, you've probably all heard this before, b'hai chibur, b'chibur said with this Sefer of the Zohar. The Iyushu Sefer Zohar, this Sefer, Yifkun Bey Min Galusa. That was a nice timing for this, actually. Made it sound nice. Sefer Zohar, with this Sefer, Yifkun Bey Min Galusa. Yetsu Al Yado Mehagalus. This Sefer Zohar Kadosh is going to take Klal Yisrael out of Galus. So when Reb Shimon Bar Yochai said, and this is what Rabbi Nachman said at the beginning, that Shimon Bar Yochai hivtiach, he guaranteed that Klal Yisrael will not forget the Torah Al Yado, through his hand. He's referring to the Zohar Kadosh. Because of the Zohar that he's going to bring into the world, which many say came out with him from the cave. He's there for 12, 13 years. He's in the cave. Right? He was a master at Niglas Torah. When he came out of the cave, it was a whole different world for Rabbi Shimon. He saw the pnimius of everything. So this Sefer is going to bring Klal Yisrael to a gula. That we see from the Zohar that the reason why Torah will not be forgotten from Klal Yisrael, Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, it's going to be because of Reb Shimon. So he's saying Torah is not going to be forgotten because I'm still here, because I'm going to bring out the Zohar, even though I don't know the timelines. I don't know if anybody knows, but if you know, tell me. When they met in Keren B'Yavne, they had this machlokas whether Torah would be forgotten or not. My assumption is this was before Reb Shimon went into the cave. It's my assumption. I don't know. And then he went into the cave, and then he brought the Zohar. So when Reb Shimon Bar Yochai said, Kilosi Shachim Mi Pizarro, he didn't know at that point that he was going to write the Zohar. This is my assumption. I don't know if anybody can prove another way. I'm fine with hearing it. My assumption is he didn't know. He just knew something inside him said, Torah will never be forgotten. And then came out of him the Zohar, which from the Zohar is going to bring us to Geula. And that was like proving his nevuah, his nevuah, his Ruach HaKodesh that he had years before. But I don't know. Has anybody ever heard anything like that? When the timeline was? Did you go? No. Okay. So the way they're explaining is that it's through Dafka to the Zohar Kadosh. Klal Yisrael would remember the Divrei Torah. L'kaim gam b'galus, they'll be able to live in galus, and not forget the Torah. Ulavasof af l'tzeis megalus, and at the end even leave galus. So the Zohar Kodesh will give us a kiyum in galus, and will get us out of galus. Kimash amar sha'amru rabbaseinu sha'torah tishtakach, that which the Rabbanim said that Torah be forgotten, zeu mishum shiro, they saw sha'sitra achra tisgaber b'sof galus, that the sitra achra is going to come very strong at the end of galus. V'yia kashe lizkor divrei Torah l'kaim, is going to be very difficult to remember the Torah and to l'kaim the Torah. V'alkach Reb Shimon ben Yochai sha'torah l'tishtachach, Torah will never be forgotten. K'yidei sefer Zohar shagila, for that sefer Zohar that he revealed, ha'torah lo tishtakach af b'sof galus. Torah will never be forgotten, even b'sof galus, when the sitra achra is coming out in a powerful way. So this is the first part of this Torah, and the Zohar Kodesh, for those who have ever dabbled inside of it, the Zohar Kodesh is teaching at a different level of reality. Whereas by Niglas HaTorah and Halacha, it's teaching us how to do the mitzvahs, how to live our daily lives in a way of actually doing the Maisa. It's talking to the guf of the person. Of course, you have to have kavanah, l'shem shemayim, and you have to do everything according to Kadosh Baruch Hu and for Kadosh Baruch Hu. But when it comes to the Zohar Kodesh, it's talking to the neshama. It's a different language. Yes, Reb Shimon bar Yochai does give Musar and he tells you to learn Torah, and he does. But it reveals a whole nother layer of reality. And you have to learn it to know. Even if you don't understand it, it is kedai that a person should open up a Zohar Kodesh once a week on Shabbos. You should. Read a few pages. Nowadays they have English translations. They have old ones that aren't good. There's a new one going to come out sometime soon. But in Hebrew they have nice translations from the hard Hebrew to the easier Hebrew. And it's kedai because it's dafka through Torah Reb Shimon that allows a person, for many people, it gives them the ability not to forget their Torah. Because many people, the nigla doesn't always do it for them. And they get a little bit burnt out. But when they enter into the Zohar Kodesh, they enter into that world of the Baal Shem and Rabbi Nachman, and they reveal the Nishmasa Daraisa, the Neshama of the Torah. And that gives them a new life. So if you have a Neshama, so I could also connect to the body. But sometimes a person, there's certain Neshamas in this world, they don't want just the body. They need something more. There's something lacking. And therefore they want the Neshama, they want Torah's Sod, they want Reb Shimon, and how it's trickled down. Reb Shimon going straight to the Zohar Kodesh is not always so understandable. Sometimes it's difficult. So sometimes we have to translate it based on the way the Baal Shem did, or even the Ramchal in his way. But I was thinking, how did Reb Shimon know? How did Reb Shimon know for sure that the Torah would never be forgotten? Let's say it was before. Let's say that when he said Torah will not be forgotten, let's say it was before he went into the cave, before the Zohar Kodesh. How could he possibly have known? So I was thinking maybe, again, I don't know the timeline, but we know right now we're mourning the Talmidim of Reb Akiva. 24,000 Talmidim, basically all of Torah was wiped away within a few months, a month period, month and a half, whatever it is, right? Gone. The world is shomim. The world is totally desolate. There's nothing. There's no Torah. That's what the Gemara says in Yevamos. Game over. But the Gemara tells us that Rabbi Akiva went to the south and he picked up 5 new Talmidim. Shimon, Meir, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Elazar, and built the whole world of Torah again through them. So Rabbi Shimon, again, I'm assuming this is before this machlokas, Rabbi Shimon is a testimony that the world of Torah can never be forgotten. Because when Rabbi Akiva's Talmidim died and the world was desolate of Torah, Mamish was the worst of the worst of the worst, after the Churban, we're trying to build up Torah again. Rabbi Akiva is the head, right? He's the Rosh of Torah at that time. All Gemara comes through him. All Mishnayos come through Rabbi Akiva. All Toseftas, everything comes through Rabbi Akiva. And all the Talmidim die. It's game over.
What Gemara comes through Rabbi Akiva?
I mean, he really Mishnayos. I mean, Gemara comes from, you can't have a Gemara without a Mishnayos. Right. But everything comes through Rameir, Rabbi Yehuda, but from Rabbi Akiva. So you have the whole world of Torah totally destroyed. Galus, Churban. I mean, that's it. It's over. It's over. And yet, Rabbi Kiva gets back up and says, "No, I have to keep going." And he finds these 5 Talmidim, and they mamish blow up the world of Torah. So Reb Shimon Bar Yochai sees there's a desolation. It's almost done Torah, and he himself, as one of the 5, brings back Torah to Klal Yisrael. Ki losi shachal mi pizaro. Torah will never be forgotten because I'm here. Because anybody who's here right now is because Torah cannot be forgotten. Has to be. So again, even if it's before even the Zohar HaKadosh came out, Rabbi Nachman saying that it's going to be that the Geula is going to come through, and the Kiyum and the Galus are going to come through the Zohar HaKadosh. But the statement that Torah will never be forgotten, the reason how he knew that it cannot be destroyed ever, is because he's a living testimony to that. Torah should have been forgotten, and yet it wasn't. Kadosh Baruch Hu will never allow it to happen. That's what's guaranteed.
That doesn't mean that it can happen even worse than it happened that time.
It was, if all of Torah was done, 24,000 Talmidim. That was everybody. The Gemara says that the world is shomim. It was totally desolate of Torah. That's what it says.
Except for Rabbi Akiva.
Right.
Except for Reb Yirmi. Okay, but if you have no Talmidim, you have nothing. And it says he went to the south. I don't know what they were doing in the south exactly. Reb Shimon was always in the north towards the end of his life. But Akoponim, one of the greatest, I've spoken this many times about, the way that we get chizik, the best way to get chizik is from your own life. We were just talking about this just a second ago. Is that when a person's going through a difficult time, and he doesn't understand how he's going to get out of this. So if he has the wherewithal, which at the time is always very difficult, you have to prepare for this. But if you can go back a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, and go back to a very difficult time in your life, and then you thought, I'll never get out of this, and yet you're here today, isn't that a testimony to the fact that things can be very, very bad, but yet there can be a continuation? You're living proof of that. You're a living proof of that. I thought my life was over. I thought it was over. But if you're saying that, that means your life's not over. That means you got out of that. Lo aleinu means there are tragedies, and we don't ask for them. And there are difficulties. It doesn't have to be much tragedies. People go through difficulties. But yet if you're still here, it shows that HaKadosh Baruch Hu could take you out of that. So Shimon himself saw that he was at the worst time of Torah for Klal Yisrael, and yet he's a living proof of that it won't go away. So that's a chizik. He's saying it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So Reb Nachman goes weiter, and he says, come and see, understand the wonders, the hidden wonders that are in the Torah. If you've never heard this before, get ready. Because Reb Shimon Bar Yochai himself is supported. He is supported from this pasuk. What did he say? Torah is never going to be forgotten. Torah will never be forgotten from the mouths of the children. Fascinating, by the way, that it says mi pizaro, and doesn't just say kilo sashach, Torah, or mi pihem, or whatever. It's interesting. It's like the children, the younger generation. But look what he says. Because be'emes Rabbi Nachman, if you know how to look at this pasuk, there's a hint to what Rabbi Shimon is saying, and what I'm telling you about Rabbi Shimon hidden in this pasuk. It's the children of Yochai. Who's the child of Yochai? Shimon Bar Yochai. It's Davka, the child of Yochai, who's going to make sure Kilos Ishachim Li Pizaro. Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. Al Yodo, through him, Lo Tishtakach Atar Yisrael. Through him, Torah is not going to be forgotten. And what's the remez? What's the hint? Ki Sofe Tevos. If you look at the last letters of the pasuk, Ki Lo Ishachim Li Pizaro. Yud, Aleph, Ches, Yud Vav, Hem Osios Yochai. Ki Lo Ishachim Li Pizaro, the Zaro of whose child is going to make sure the Torah is not forgotten? The child of Yochai. That's Shimon Bar Yochai. That's what the remez, the hint. That's what's being revealed in the pasuk. Kilosi shachim mi pizaro daika. It's from his child. Whose child? The child of this one himself, whose merumas and hidden in the pasuk. Was that pasuk? Shutana Yochai. The Tana Yochai, because Shem Bar Yochai had a father Yochai, was a big tzaddik also. And so it was in the Torah already, in Devarim, in Parshas Vayelech, hundreds and hundreds of years earlier, it was already hidden. Rav Shem Bar Yochai was already hidden in this pasuk. So that's the wonders that Rabbi Nachman's bringing up. Kayidei Zara Shal Yochai, again, he's saying it again. I guess he was so excited, he was saying it again and again. Kayidei Zara Shal Yochai. Shem Rumas B'zeh Pasuk B'Sofei Tevos, through the children of Yochai, who himself Yochai is hinted to, and the Sofei Tevos of the pasuk, Shem Bar Yochai, Al Yado, through him, Lo Sishachach Torah. Torah is never going to be forgotten. Keep the Zohar the Yivkim and Galusa, because through the Zohar Kadosh, it's going to take us out of Galus. The Zohar has a Yetzim and Galus. The Zohar Kadosh is going to take us out of Galus. One of the differences between, it's interesting, between Nigla and Nister is that even though Nigla, of course, the Kadosh Baruch Hu is all over the Torah, but somehow a person can learn Nigla and sometimes forget about a Kadosh Baruch Hu. It's possible. When a person's learning and he gets into the halachas, right? It's possible that a person can make a slight separation. He doesn't mean to. It just happens. But when a person learns the Zohar Kadosh, it's a different Indian. Everything is discussed in the Kadosh Baruch Hu. You can't move without that. Everything is the shemus of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Everything is the spheres. Everything is Kutchabrichu. Everything is Kutchabrichu. Yichud. L'shem Yichud Kutchabrichu Shchintei. Every kavanah you have is for some shame. So when you learn Torah's Zohar, Torah's Sod, right? What's Sod? It's the secret. I mean, what you see in this world. Just look with your eyes. What you see is what you get, right? That's not a secret. That's what it is. What's the secret behind everything in this world? Elokus. How can any of this be? Because there's a Rebbeinu Shalom who's giving chiyas, giving life force to everything that you see. So the secret, the sod, behind everything is like that aleph. So Elokus is a Kadosh Baruch Hu. And that's what the Zohar Kadosh is revealing. That's why when a person learns Zohar, again, he doesn't have to understand everything. When he starts his mind to enter into that place, he starts to see a Kadosh Baruch Hu more and more. And that's why if you take the word Gola, which means you're in Golus, and you add an aleph to that, the aleph of Elokus, the secret, the sod, what do you get? Geula. Golus to Geula. It's one letter. The difference between Golus and Geula is one letter. The aleph is Elokus. You can go through your entire life. You could go through everything. And you could be a Jew. And you could be working. But you can mamish be in Golus. You can mamish be in Golus. The person's not happy. He's upset. He's not satisfied with things in his life. Because he doesn't have the aleph behind it. He doesn't see the secret of this world. Which is it's Kadosh Baruch Hu's world. It's not your world. Kadosh Baruch Hu gives it to you. But if you disconnect world from the secret, the vitality, the aleph, Elokus, now you're on your own. This is a rough place to be if you're on your own in this world. Not pashut. You have to hold on to a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Reb Shimon Bar Yochai's one of his big inyanim was his bitachon. Bitachon. He's the one who didn't work. Because Parnasim Kamai De'acherim, he said, if a person dedicates his life towards Torah, which he did, totally never, he didn't even daven many times. He said Shema, but he was pater from davening even. Because his life was kol kulo Torah. So he was pater from everything. Kadosh Baruch Hu took care of him. Even in the Ma'ara, he goes to the cave, we know. A carob tree just miraculously came, a stream of water came. Right? So he was learning, when he was learning in the cave, for 12 years, 13 years, this is what he was coming to. He was coming to the secret of this world, which was passed down from Reb Yirmi and was passed down. But he brought that out. So he takes us from Golus to Geula. Dafka through the Sefer. And again, we have trickles down. A person's learning Arizal, a person's learning Baal Shem Tov, or Rabbi Nachman. Rabbi Nachman says, let's finish this and I'll tell you one more thing he says about himself. V'da, you should know. Shesod, Rabbi Nachman says, Shesod Rabbi Shimon ba'atzmahu merumaz b'pasuk acher. There's another secret, another hint to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai in another pasuk. Kida, you should know Kitana HaKadosh Rabbi Shimon hu b'chinas. You should know that the holy Tana Rabbi Shimon He's bechinas mashinemar shev Nebuchadnezzar roba chalomo. Nebuchadnezzar saw this big dream. He saw this big tree, whole thing. In Daniel, Ir v'kadosh min Shemaya noches. Malach shu er la'olam. A malach that was, I guess, awake forever. V'kadosh and holy Yord min Shemayim. Came down from Shemayim. That's a pasuk in Daniel. Shu Rashi Tevos Shimon. Ayin of Ir vav v'kadosh min Shemaya noches is Rashi Tevos Shimon. Because Reb Shimon Bar Yochai is like a malach. He's a Tana Eloki. Why is he called a Tana Eloki? So, my understanding is Tana. What is Tana? Tana, Nicholas Torah, right? He taught, like all the Tanaim. But why is he Eloki? Because he was like a malach who brought out Pnimius Torah. He brought it out. That doesn't mean that the other Tanaim didn't necessarily know. Rabbi Kiva for sure had it, but he had not everything. Everything has its time. We're actually up to a Sichas Aran. We're going to get to. It's going to take us a few weeks. That's why I decided to go for this. It's going to be it'll be a two week Sichas Aran, if not 3 weeks. And there he talks about certain aspects, and he speaks about that certain revelations in this world had to wait. Had to wait. Kadosh Baruch Hu decides when they could be revealed. They had to wait till the right time, the right kalim. Right? Even when Reb Shimon Bar Yochai revealed the Zohar, which Rabbi Kiva knew Pnimius Torah, as we know for sure he did, because when Moshe Rabbeinu went to see him, Rabbi Kiva was dealing with the crowns on top of the letters. What is that talking about? That's not Stam Halacha. That's Pnimius. Even though it says he was learning Halacha from there, but what kind of Halacha is he learning? Yet, the revelation was only when Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai revealed it, and even then it was hidden. The Zohar Kodesh didn't become public knowledge for a long time. It was passed down from Rebbe to Talmud in a very secretive way. Until a certain point, I don't know what years, I don't even know the years, 1500s maybe. For a long time, it was hidden away. So only certain people knew about it until Kadosh Baruch Hu decided that it should be revealed. And that's the next stage, going from Galus to Gul, is Dafka through the revelation of Pnimius Torah and Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. Now, in this sefer, if you see, you bring down on the bottom left, the left column. See this number 2 right in the middle?
Yes.
So I'm going to read you what he says over here. A lot of it's just a review, but I'm just going to read through it anyway. And then the end is the big chiddush. B'chaim Aran. It's like a biography of Rabbi Nachman that Rabbi Nosson wrote. It's brought b'derech b'eis nesiyos of Uman. The time that we went to Uman, Ana v'Amar, he said, Afal Pikain. I'm not going to get into it now, but Ana v'Amar. Rabbi Nachman says this many times. Ana. He answered and said. Well, what was the question? Sometimes Rabbi Nachman answered questions that weren't even asked. But he knew what they were thinking. He knew what the world needed to be spoken about. So he answered and he said. Like in the middle of in the carriage. They're just, in the back of the wagon. Just it was Baal Shem Tov. It wasn't Baal Shem Tov's wagon this time, it was Rabbi Nachman. He would just he had like revelations, Rabbi Nachman. I mean, Rebbe said that there were times where Rabbi Nachman would be walking in the street. And he would just stop his Talmidim, and then he would say a whole Torah, the likkutei moharan, right there on the spot. He had a certain revelation, it just flowed right through him. So he had these things. He would just answer and say. I don't know, the Malachim, he's having a conversation with them, I have no idea. Aval Pikin Hashem Yisbarach Ozel Yisrael Talmud. Nevertheless, HaKadosh Baruch is always going to help Klal Yisrael. If Ein Dor Yosem, there's never going to be a Dor Yosem. Now, this could be a Nevuah, because he knows he's going to Uman, he knows he's going to die there. He knew he was going to die there. It wasn't very long afterwards. So he was giving them chizik. Basically, when I go, there's no Dor Yosem. You're going to be able to go on. U'kamosha Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, like Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai himself said. Kisha Amar Eza Tana, when one of the Tanaim said, Asida Torah Tishtakach Yisrael. Here he says, one of the Tanaim said that Torah is going to be forgotten. On Rabbi Shimon answered and said, Lav, no. Ki bezor da yifkum in galusa. Through this Zohar, we're going to get out of Galus. Kilosi shachim v'izaro. Right there, he adds a little bit. He says that Rabbi Shimon said that. Okay, he said that the Zohar is going to come out and keep it from being forgotten. Therefore, Rabbi Shimon himself was found in this pasuk. V'gilo as hasod hanitzos v'likkutei moharan chelakal b'tchilaso. So Rabbi Nachman then revealed the secret that we just read about the Sefer Tevis being Yochai. Ein sham megdulas Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, about his greatness, Rabbi Shimon. Anisi v'amarti lo. So I said to Rabbi Nachman, Rabbi Shimon yeshel gam kein bevade hanamizeh. So I think there's Rabbi Nosson saying to Rabbi Nachman in the wagon at that time, You know, Reb Shimon must be getting a lot of hana. Right? The fact that you found Yochai in the Sofi Tevis of Kilos Shachim Pizarro. Hainim is Chiddush and Nifla from this amazing Chiddush that you said. Hey Shiv, Rabbi Nachman answered. Hey, yeah. The is. Yeah, he's getting a lot of hana. Acher kach anava amar. And afterwards he said, here we go, here's the explosion. For those who are Breslovers. Rabbi Shimon ba'atzma hu inyan acher. Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai is a different inyan in Gansen. He's a different inyan. Rabbi Shimon hu ir v'kodesh min shemai nochas. Right? Rabbi Shimon is not just a human being that's found in the back of Sofi Tevos of Kilos Hashem Pizarro. He's mamash HaMelech. Ir v'kodesh min shemai nochas. He came from Shemayim. Kinid v'sham, like it's written in over here, not dumb. The Achshav says Rabbi Nachman, he's in the wagon going to Uman. But now, Achshav, Yesh Nachal Novem Kor Chachma. Now we have a flow, a Nachal, a river that flows from the source of Chachma. Rashi Tevos? Nachman. He's talking about himself. Now, Rabbi Shimon was in an Acher then, but now there's me. Now there's me. And I'm the Hemshich of that Torah, Rabbi Shimon. Gam Kvar Nishma Shamra La'atzmo. It was understood that he was speaking about himself. Shehu Nahar HaMetar Mikol Aksamim. That he himself, Rabbi Nachman himself, was the river that purifies all blemishes. Rabbi Nachman says that it's kedai for a person to sell all of his svarim, if he has to, sell his clothing to buy likkutei moharan, to learn likkutei moharan. He says if a person would learn likkutei moharan, his whole life will change. He says do tshuva, his whole life will change. He says you should sell your stuff. He says.
Well, so combine nowadays you can usually get.
Nowadays it's a lot easier without it, right? But he says if you have to, you have to. So this is the Hagdama. This is the Hagdama to baomer, which is also the Hagdama to likkutei moharan. I'm feeling like we should start it again, you know? Torah Aleph. Many years ago, we spent years, being learning the first, maybe 17 Torahs. But this is how we started so many years ago. So this Rabbi Nachman ended his life by giving us a new beginning. I mean, even though this is a nevu he's saying about himself, even though he's going to die. He said this on the way to his death. Because Yochai and the Nachal Novem Mikorchal. Those here who are connected to Pnimis Torah know that it gives a new life. And should continue to give us a new life, and should give us a kiyum in the Golas, and should bring us, hopefully, with that Aleph, from Gola to Gula.
So Shimon wrote down the Zohar?
What?
He wrote it down?
I don't think he wrote it down. I think it was Rabbi Abba.